Hey guys, Jeff here. Just wanted to demo my new arm design, which I just got put together this morning. Well, I've put it together quite a few times now, but I finally got it working the way I like, which is exciting. So I only have one arm assembled right now, so you'll notice this lime green one, which is very easy to spot, is the new arm, and these two purple ones are the old one. But it's kind of nice because you can see a bit of the contrast in the two designs, kind of some of the improvements and or changes I've made. So the biggest change was I rerouted all of the strings to be on the outside of the actuator. So here you can see they're internal and they're sandwiched between these two rigid pieces. And that maybe looks a bit cleaner, but when it comes to routing all the cables, it was taking me some 15 to 20 minutes to really string up the actuator, and I didn't want to put anyone that picked up my design through that same pain. So I tried to make this thing a lot easier to assemble. So it may look, the routing may be slightly more complicated, but it's really quick to string up. It only takes me maybe 60 seconds, and if you didn't quite know what you were doing, it might take a little longer, but I really think it's quite a bit easier now. The second improvement I made was trying to focus on the cable spooling here. So you can see I have a nice smooth wrap, a single layer, so there's no overlapping cables on the spool, which should help not only with the cables not wearing out, but also with accuracy and positioning, because an overlapping cable is going to change the effective radius of the pulley, so you won't really know how much string you're spooling in and out if you get overlapping cables. So you can see I have a nice helical spooling going on here, and I found the key to that was actually, you can see here, you need to have a good amount of distance, or the right amount of distance, coming from the spool into the pulley that feeds it. So before I had these much closer, and what that causes is, see if I can get this thing in focus, if it will listen to me, is essentially as it spools up, you'll notice that the helix is kind of pull the string up or down the pulley. So it's going to pull it up or it's going to pull it down. And that angle there, that angle is what tends to cause the string to jump up onto another string and start wrapping over itself, which is what we don't want. So the longer you make this distance here, the better, because then that angle will tend to be less extreme, and so you'll have the component of tension pulling it up and over to overlap the strings will be lower. So even I think you could improve upon this design further by figuring out how to move this motor spool further away from this pulley. I thought about moving it maybe up here or something of the like, way over here, but the further you move this motor out, then you have to throw that mass around, and you have the cables you have to route out there. So I didn't like that. I like it being nice and close to the base, just like it was before. You'll also notice I've got a lot wider string spread here, so I have a lot higher mechanical advantage, which is ideal because that also equates to higher resolution in your print. So this one gets about 103 steps per millimeter if you look at the distance between these 2 points here, whereas this one was 68 steps per millimeter. So it's about 160% of the resolution that you'll be able to achieve with this new actuator, which sounds good. We'll see how it works in practice. But I think I can already feel that it's a lot easier if you turn this thing off and just by hand turn this thing. It's a lot easier to generate force out here. So it's a lot smoother, it's a lot more even. You can see I paid the cost to route the strings on the outside. I had to add these extra pulleys, which isn't ideal. I don't like adding more parts to my designs, but I think it was worth it. And I also, one thing I've thought about is you'll notice these 4 pulleys, this string, and this string are always going to move kind of at the same rate. So you could actually, if you got one big pulley and put it here, you could replace all 4 of these pulleys with one pulley that was the right width of this thing. So that might be something I look at in the future. But you know, for now I have tons of these little V-cut pulleys. They were pretty cheap, so you know, it works. And yeah, the actuator works. You can see I've been moving it around here. I don't have it all dialed in right now. I just kind of guessed a number, and it seems to be working kind of okay. You can see the tip isn't moving very level, but you get an idea for how it's working here. So that's kind of moving in the Z. And one thing I really like aesthetically, I think, is getting rid of these kind of flat surfaces on the back. I kind of like, almost looks kind of spidery with the new angles there. Yeah, so I'm working to get all my CAD together, and that should be up online. So I hope this proves useful to somebody, because I sure put a lot of work into it. It'd be a shame if I was the only one that ever built one of these. So cool. I hope you enjoyed.